ceasefire have been productive. President Donald Trump called the discussions with Vladimir Putin a good step towards ending the war. But Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky remains skeptical, accusing Putin of stalling peace efforts. While the White House remains hopeful, Kyiv fears Russia is buying to continue its aggression. Meanwhile, the UK and G7 nations back the US proposed ceasefire, but they say the next move is Russia's. Let's listen to what Trump had to say after.
From the standpoint about a ceasefire and ultimately a deal, some pretty good vibes coming out of Russia.
Dr. Satoru Nagao, fellow Hudson of the Hudson Institute, joins us now from Tokyo, Japan. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Nagao. Russia has accepted this 30-day ceasefire, but on conditional terms. How might these conditions affect feasibility of the truce?
Okay, we should remember what happened in the battlefield. Russia is winning even if they pay huge cost. So that's why when President Trump seeks a ceasefire in his place, yes, Russia want to get bigger benefit. So to persuade Russia, the President Trump used one kind of the bluff, which is looks like pro-Russia. So his stance is something like that last 2 months. But in this case, Zelensky reacts to this attitude because of this. So that's why the fight has happened between Trump and Zelensky. So that's why President Trump needs to show their original stance, their side of Ukraine. So under such kind of situations, Russia do not have the reason to accept the ceasefire. So this is difficult condition for the President Trump. So President Trump's skill to persuade Russia. This is under such kind of the tough conditions, he tried to find something the special card to persuade Russia. That is the current situation. So stance, when we compare the stance between U.S. stance and Russian stance, now the U.S. demands ceasefire first and negotiation next. But Russia's stance is negotiation first and ceasefire next, so completely opposite. So how to persuade is maybe difficult situation, but Trump tried to do that. It relies on his skill.
Dr. Nagao, how are you analysing the US's mediation efforts in this conflict? Obviously, you have things changing every single day. You have an argument with Zelensky in the Oval Office in public 1 week, then US officials and Ukrainian officials are shaking hands over a 30-day peace deal proposal, and you also have Donald Trump kind of putting these things out on social media in his own kind of lingo. What's your analysis on these kind of negotiations from the side of Donald Trump's US administration?
In this case, we should remember what happened when Trump was the president between 2016 to 2020. He tried to persuade North Korea that time, but how to do that? Indeed, the U.S. cannot intervene in North Korea militarily, because if the U.S. start a big military operation in North Korea, this is the side of the Beijing means that China will intervene and the war will be escalated to the U.S.-China war. So that's why U.S. cannot intervene militarily. But Trump used the bluff. It looks like he's a crazy guy, very strong guy, and can attack North Korea anytime. That's why the North Korea accept the moratorium to stop the missile test that time. But North Korea did not stop the nuclear development program itself. In case of Russia and Ukraine, indeed, a similar situation could happen. Ceasefire could happen if President Trump can use bluff. This is good for Russia, even if he is the side of Ukraine. So that's why this bluff is very important card to persuade Russia. So can he succeed or not? It relies on his skill.
In regard to the resumption of the military aid and intelligence sharing, which has now been resumed, how does this influence the dynamics of the current ceasefire negotiations, do you think?
U.S. restarts support to Ukraine means that this situation reveals the real voice of the United States, which is the side of Ukraine. They stand with Ukraine, so that's why the view from Russia, U.S. is enemy, potential enemy. So if the Trump administration's image looks like pro-Russia, Russia has a reason to listen opinion from Trump administration to stop the war. But if President Trump is the Ukraine side, there is no reason to listen to Trump administration opinion. So this is more difficult situation. So on surface, he tried to show the pro-Russian stance as a bluff, despite the U.S. is Ukraine side. But now, because of the Zelensky, it has revealed the U.S. is Ukraine side. So that is the reason the more difficult situation President Trump faced. But if summer will come, still Ukraine can resist very strongly, and if the counteroffensive it could happen, situation will change. So current negotiation is rely on the battlefield. If the Ukraine stops Russia's offensive, temporarily Russia has a reason to stop the offensive. So that is the situation, I believe.
Dr. Nagao, we've obviously seen the UK and other G7 nations back this 30-day proposed ceasefire deal. Do you think the Russians see the UK and other European nations and other G7 nations as having kind of weight in this fight? Do the US see them as any sort of talking point with Russia in these negotiations whatsoever?
Yeah, if many countries join the negotiation, it will be complicated. So that's why the Trump administration needs one kind of trust from the allies and partners. Even if his stance looks like pro-Russia, this country will not upset and try to intervene in this negotiation. That is ideal for the Trump administration. But that wasn't happen when Zelensky tried to resist Trump's remark in the White House. So that's why now a little bit difficult situation US is facing. But view from Russia do not want to create something situation Trump will act unpredictability, unpredictable act Trump will do. Russia cannot control the negotiation. So that's why Russia also afraid of Trump. So that's why the Russia's stance they are showing is, it looks like they are accepting the negotiation with Trump, but they do not want to concede. So that's why it looks like Russia said, yes, there is a possibility the ceasefire will come. But at the same time, indeed, in their deep mind, Russia do not want to stop it. That is the current situation, I believe. So President Trump tried to use a special card. What kind of special card, I cannot imagine, but there is a possibility he has, and to persuade Russia.
Dr. Nagao, Trump hailed these conversations as very good discussions with Russia. Russia's obviously laid out its demands. It says no Ukraine in NATO. They say concessions to certain territories, and they say no European troops in Ukraine. How might the ceasefire deal impact Ukraine's territorial integrity, and how might these demands from Russia affect a lasting peace? Will it lead to a lasting peace if you include these demands from Russia?
A ceasefire itself do not solve the problem. So current battlefield line is not the part of the Russian territory. This is Ukrainian territories. So people believe, and I believe also. So that's why if Russia demand this territory, of course, Russia expand the territory to the Ukraine side, and Ukraine cannot accept. But this is one thing. Solving territorial issue is one thing. Indeed, ceasefire is different thing. Ceasefire is stop the battle. That is, so it is possible to stop the battle, but it is impossible to solve the territorial issue. That is the current situation. So that's why the Trump administration is seeking the ceasefire is based on these two conditions. They do not want to solve the territorial issue, but they want to solve the battle. stop the battle. That is maybe he is seeking. Because the view from the United States, U.S. interest is to compete with rival and win, but this rival is China, not Russia. So that's why they want to relocate their resources from Europe to the Indo-Pacific. But so stopping the battle is the interest of the United States. Solving the territorial issue is more complicated, not easy to solve. So that's why this is maybe long-term negotiation will solve the problem, but not just now. It's a U.S. stance, I believe.
Dr. Satoru Nagao, thank you very much for joining us. We now move to some news updates from the United States. The US Congress has managed to avert a government shutdown just in the nick of time. After weeks of tense negotiations, the Senate approved a crucial funding bill backed by President Donald Trump. The bill, which had already passed the House, will keep federal agencies funded through September. The midnight deadline was looming, but the last-minute deal stopped the shutdown preparations and spared over 800,000 workers from being furloughed. The move required rare cooperation between Republicans and Democrats in the Senate, highlighting the stakes of this high-stakes vote.
The nays are 46. The bill is passed. Under the previous order, the motion to reconsider is considered made. The yeas are 54.
On this vote, the yeas are 62. The nays are 38. 3/5 of the senators duly chosen and sworn have voted in the affirmative. The motion is agreed to. On this vote, the yeas are 60.
Moving on now, NASA and SpaceX have launched a new crew to the International Space Station. This paves the way to bring home US astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams. They have been stuck on the International Space Station for 9 whole months. SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket lifted off from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. It carried 4 astronauts who will replace Wilmore and Williams. The 2 veteran astronauts flew to the ISS in June on Boeing's Starliner capsule, which later developed technical issues. This mission, called Crew 10, is a routine crew rotation. However, it is also a crucial step to bring Wilmore and Williams back to Earth. The return plan gained urgency after comments from US President Donald Trump. Once the Crew 10 astronauts arrive at the ISS, Wilmore and Williams are set to depart. They will return to Earth with NASA astronaut Nick Hague and Russian cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov. The Crew 10 team includes NASA astronauts Anne McClain and Nicole Ayers, Japanese astronaut Tayuka Onoshi, and Russian cosmonaut Kirill Peskov. They will stay on the ISS for around 6 months.
Now we wait another day for Crew 10 to make their way to the space station to join Crew 9 there. They'll hand over for a few days, and then we'll bring Crew 9 back to Earth, and they'll splash down, and we'll get to hear all their stories.
The United Nations Security Council has condemned the widespread violence in Syria's coastal region. A joint statement from the US and Russia calls Syria's interim government to protect all citizens, regardless of ethnicity or religion. More than 1,000 people have been killed in sectarian clashes. Syria's interim president has vowed to punish those responsible, even within his own ranks. The council also stressed the need to counter the rising threat of foreign terrorists in the country.
The Security Council welcomes the Syrian interim authorities' public condemnation of instances of violence and calls for further measures to prevent its reoccurrence, including violence against persons on the grounds of ethnicity, religion or belief, and to protect all civilians in Syria without distinction.
Now moving over to South Asia, Pakistan officials confirmed that 31 people, including 23 security personnel, were killed in Tuesday's train hijacking in Balochistan province. Armed militants from the Baloch Liberation Army seized the Jafar Express near Sibi, sparking a fierce battle that lasted for over 30 hours. The Pakistan military says it killed 33 people and freed 354 passengers, though 37 were injured. Officials revised the number of passengers on board to 425, noting some may have boarded later or escaped during the attack. The attack marks a sharp escalation in separatist violence, with Pakistani authorities accusing India and Afghanistan of supporting anti-Pakistan militants, alleging both countries have denied.